and presenting that leadership and modeling that leadership, it's filtered into a culture and environment where coaches are, successful and happy and want to be here. And that trickles to our teams, so.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of Warrior Weekly with myself, Brady Beedon. That's Kevin Brechmacher to my left, and it's a great day to be a Warrior, Kevin. You have been pumped up since Saturday. So, all right, we'll take care of this. Thursday, both teams beat Davenport.
They did. Women took care of business pretty easily. It was kind of I wouldn't say boring game for the first half, but just not a lot going on. Second half, the ladies.
Davenport kept it close because they played good defense, and then Wayne State just said, okay, we're going to do enough to get ahead. And they won. They kind of kept them at an arm's length the whole time.
I mean, yes, it was kind of a slow bleed for Davenport in that game. Wayne State was just obviously the better team. And looking after, we'll talk about Saturday here in a little bit, but looking forward to tournament matchups. That could be a matchup possibly if Wayne State grabs that 2 seed for the conference tournament. They could see Davenport again back here in Detroit in a GLIAC quarterfinal. And I think if you're Wayne State, you got to like that matchup. But they're tough to play because they like to slow it down. They're a pretty good defensive team, but Wayne State just the better team and came out on top.
And then the men, they had a nice win over Davenport too. They struggled at times in that game, but then they finished it off. Got a what I thought was a solid win for the men.
I mean, again, we'll talk about Saturday in a minute, but with Saturday withstanding, that was a great way to finish the game for the Wayne State men on Thursday. Down the stretch, they were the better team, the better coach team. Jalen Jenkins hit a couple big threes for the Warriors to kind of keep their nose out in front. And then the end of the game, Wayne State just pulled away, and Davenport kind of just threw in the towel with about 20 seconds left. It didn't foul down by 9. And give the Warriors credit because they continue to make plays down the stretch these last couple of weeks. They continue to knock in free throws in a big way to ice games. And again, it was a huge win for the Warriors because they were tied with Davenport at the time at 6-6 in conference play to nose themselves ahead of them and also give themselves a tiebreaker over another team they might be competing with for one of those 4 home games.
So my apologies to Coach Smothers. He beats the number 14 team in the country, and he's not the lead story for Saturday. So we're going to talk about the women first. Again, we will get to the men. We'll take our time. But the Wayne State women get their revenge over Grand Valley. 78-77. They knock off the number 1 team in the country. First time they've beat them since 2015. First time Grand Valley's lost in 34 games. And it is unequivocally the biggest regular season win of Carrie Lohr's career. It is Kevin Brechmacher said it was the biggest win he's ever done, especially for the women. I guess we'll start off with an easy one. How awesome was that?
I've been thinking the last 48 hours what I was going to say at the podcast when we tape on Mondays, but it was incredible to be there Saturday. The atmosphere in the gym inside the field house was outstanding. A big crowd, 2 great basketball teams. Take nothing away from Grand Valley. They could honestly, Wayne State could have blown them out by 20 points if Grand Valley just wanted to say, okay, it just wasn't our day. But they kept fighting back, and we'll talk about the end of the game.
The first half was incredible.
Brady, I'm not speaking in hyperbole here. The first half was the best half of women's basketball I've seen from Wayne State since I've been here. It's been 10 years. And honestly, if they play that way for 40 minutes, as they proved by winning the game, but they can beat anybody in the country. They were making shots left and right. Their defense was outstanding. They rebounded well. They kept the turnovers down a little bit. Still turned the ball over a little too much for my liking, but they kept the turnovers down. And Grand Valley they were punch drunk out there. They got punched in the face, and they didn't know how to respond because Wayne State would just keep hitting shot after shot, making play after play, diving for loose balls left and right. I mean, you could tell from the start of the game, the ladies wanted this bad. They wanted it bad. They were going after loose balls. There were so many jump balls in the first half because Wayne State kept tying up Grand Valley on the defensive end, and it was just an incredible performance. The first 20 minutes was outstanding.
And that's where I was a little concerned. So, okay, I'll be completely honest. Hand up. After the first game, I go, okay, they had their shot. Grand Valley kind of handled them 4 different times last year. They probably weren't taking Wayne State seriously. You went over there, you had your chance, and you let it slip through. And I was nervous for this game because I thought, okay, you're getting their best shot. Bisbal was back in the lineup, which makes a difference. I know we'll talk about the fouling out situation, but that makes a difference. And they were able to not only survived what I was expecting an early onslaught, they came out on the offensive and dominated that game. But like you said, Grand Valley, they weren't going to roll over and die, and it looked like it was going to be maybe the biggest heartbreaking loss that you've had.
Mackenzie Bisbal was back in a big way. I think it affected the way a little bit Wayne State played offensively on the interior. Taylor Thompson still had a great game, but again, her presence out there definitely changed the game from the first time to that time. But again, I go back sitting there courtside in Allendale a month ago and watching those two teams play. Yes, Bisbal wasn't in there the first time around, but you could just tell that Wayne State, if they play well, was the better team. And I said that on the air a couple times.
Did.
I said that on the podcast, and I'm not right very often, Brady. I will fully admit that, but I think I was right about that. Now we'll see if these two teams play again, which we hope that happens, whether it's in the GLIAC tournament or the NCAA tournament, to see if I'm truly right or not. But watching the game both times against Grand Valley, Wayne State should have won the first time, and they should have won the second time by probably 10 to 12 points.
Over 80 minutes, they're tied.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah.
And you've played at both spots. Let's talk about the end of this game, because Wayne State was up as many as what? Like 18 at one point,
I believe. They were up 18 at one point. They were up 12 with about 4.5 minutes left. You're kind of thinking, okay, we're a shot or two away from this game being over.
Grand Valley takes the lead in the final minute. And you could almost feel did we really just let that happen again?
No.
That was kind of the sentiment I got listening to you and Sean. And then the next possession, bang, JC Tübingen gets fouled. And you go, oh, all right, big free throws. Bang, bang. All right, we've got the lead.
Taylor Thompson fouled out of the game, I want to say, with about 3:15 to go. Grand Valley
she
was
played 36
starting
minutes,
to
though.
make a run, okay? McKenna Ferguson fouled out, and honestly, I'm not just saying this, but on one of the worst calls I've seen in my entire career of covering basketball, playing basketball, coaching
describe
basketball.
the play. It was a loose ball.
So it was a ball flung down the court because we were having trouble breaking the press, which was a big story in the end, and that's why Grand Valley came back and almost won the game. But we threw the ball down the court. McKenna was going for the ball. I forget the Grand Valley player who was going for it as well. They both kind of collide in midair trying to grab it. Now,
it was a jump ball.
It was kind of a jump ball. McKenna kind of, I think she knocked the ball out of bounds. It should have been Grand Valley ball, but instead the referee calls a foul on McKenna when both ladies were going up for the ball in a loose ball situation. That's a play on 99.9% of the time. And I hate criticizing officials on the air, even though I do sometimes when there's an egregious call. I hate doing it here. But it was just a terrible call because it totally affected the end of the game. McKenna fouls out. Now, two of your best ball handlers, Taylor Thompson and McKenna Ferguson, are out of the game. So Grand Valley, being the great coach team they are and smart, say, oh, what are we going to do the rest of the game? We're just going to throw our hardest intensity press at you, and Wayne State couldn't barely get the ball over half court because two of their ball handlers were out, and that's why Grand Valley was able to come back, hit a three to tie the game, and then we missed a shot the other end. Or sorry, we made one or two. Oh no, we missed a shot, and then we foul Grand Valley. They go up one. Kameen makes one or two free throws, and then we get the ball back with about 37 seconds left. And I'll tell you what, JC Tübingen did a great job getting to the basket, drawing contact, getting a foul call with about 3.7 seconds left. And I'll tell you what, half the gym was screaming at her. Half the gym couldn't even breathe, including myself. First one, nothing but net, ties the game. Okay, well, at least at the very least, we're going overtime.
Okay, you're like, we're
second
clear.
one, nothing but net too. Just dead-eye two free throws from JC Tübingen, and then Grand Valley turns it over. They travel on the ensuing possession, and we throw the ball down the court, kind of like the men did at Ferris State a couple weeks ago, and celebrations on. It was just an incredible finish, and I give the ladies, so much credit because, again, it was just a slow bleed down the stretch. Basket, turnover, basket, turnover, basket, turnover. The first three they hit all game. We hadn't allowed Grand Valley to make one three-point field goal the entire game until they tied the game with about a minute left, and they still found a way to win.
That's big time. By the way, JC Tübingen had taken 0 free throws before that. Yeah. She had taken 2 shots in the game, and it was her time, and she stepped up in a big time way.
And I'm not dogging JC when I say this, but I'm just reading stats. She's about a 59-60% foul shooter. She's not a great foul shooter. She'll even admit that. But for her to step up in the biggest pressure spot, maybe of her career, and make
that's what you do in the driveway, right?
Exactly.
Okay, down 1-0, just got fouled, 2 free throws.
You've got a chance to beat the number 1 team in the country on your court. 2 free throws, you make them both, you win. And let's be honest, and I'm not, and again, I'm taking my green and gold colored glasses off. If that game goes to overtime, Grand Valley probably wins 99 of 100 times because our two starters had fouled out.
Right.
And had all the momentum. So JC had to make both free throws right there for Wayne State to win. She did, and the celebration was on.
So that's a great day no matter what, just regardless of the men's game, because anytime you beat the number one team. But then the men follow it up with a 70-68 win over the then first place team in the conference, Grand Valley, the number 14 team in the country, Grand Valley. And for the first time since Lord knows when, if Jeff Weiss doesn't have it, it might not. It's been a long time. Wayne State sweeps Grand Valley in basketball. And, I mean, what more could you ask for?
I'll flat out say this. I don't think the men played their best game of the season by far, but again, they found a way to win, playing down the stretch better basketball, and they executed better, and they got key defensive stops. They made a couple big shots. Jotham Nowicki hit a couple big threes late in the second half to keep Wayne State within striking distance, and they just found a way to win down the stretch. Jordan Briggs was outstanding again with the basketball in his hand late in the game, and Grand Valley is a good team. I haven't been entirely impressed with them either time I've seen them play, but yet they've only lost 4 games all year overall. They're in a 3-way tie now for first place in the conference. Wayne State 3 games back, solidly down in fourth. We'll talk about that probably in the next segment. But again, finding ways to win. The last 3 games, Wayne State has been in dogfights with Ferris State, Davenport, and Grand Valley down the stretch. They've outcoached the opposition, and they've out-executed the competition, and that's why they've won those 3 games.
So, I mean, I don't even know where to go from here. I mean, Jordan Briggs with 27. That's a big-time performance. And this Wayne State team is starting to find its rhythm a little bit. And I talked with Coach Smothers about this. You know, there was a little more turnover than he might have thought there was going to be from last year to this year. But I think they're starting to kind of figure out the identity of this team. And it just is something that took a little longer because they had to bring some guys in that weren't in the program last year. But now, hopefully, they're starting to hit their stride. You know, we had talked about, hey, can we take 2 steps forward? Because it felt like 1 step forward, 1 step back. Yeah, they swept, Roosevelt and Parkside. But you kind of expected that, and you followed it up by losing 2 in the UP. So you go, okay, evened out. They were basically right down the middle. They've won 3 straight over 3 pretty good teams. If Davenport's the worst team in that 3-team stretch, that's a good 3-game stretch.
Yeah, and that's coming off probably, in my opinion, their worst effort of the year in that home loss to Purdue Northwest that kind of kick-started Wayne State.
Yeah, and when we were walking back to the car, we went, maybe they just don't have it this year. And
But I think, Brady, and you've been around the game a long time. I'm much older than you are, and I can fully admit that. So I've been around the game a lot longer, but you kind of have a sense sometimes when something special is starting to happen.
Right.
You know, you just, something clicks. And the coaching staff's been talking all year about we need to find combinations on the court. We need to find a defensive game plan that's going to click. And I'm not going to say what, and I kind of recognize what it's been because I don't want to give it away for the competition that we play the last 6 games of the year. But I really think Wayne State has found some combinations, found some defensive combinations, and found some ways to play down stretches of games that have clicked. They've won 3 straight games. They've got 2 big ones coming up this week. We'll wait till the next segment to talk about that. But, hey, there's only 6 games, and it's hard to believe because it seems like the season just started. There's only 6 regular season games left in the season. Wayne State is in great position right now to put themselves in a spot they can make a run come March. You know, hey, you can say, okay, well, they played bad sometimes or won a game here and there, but there's only 6 games left. 4 of those 6 are at home. The 2 road games are against 2 teams that are the bottom 2 teams in the league right now. They put themselves in a great position to make a run. The women, we'll talk maybe next segment too, but in a great position to make a run. The men have really put themselves in a great spot, and I couldn't be prouder for the coaching staff. I know how hard they work. I'm prouder for these kids. I know how hard they work as well, being around them on the road. And it's really been fun. The word I used to describe Saturday was fun.
I
know you get paid to do what you do. Obviously, that's fun too. But it's a lot more fun when days like that happen. You beat the number 1 team in the country on the women's side. You beat the number 14 team in the country on the men's side, and both teams were ecstatic after the game. And
as they should.
It was tough to walk out of there on Saturday because you're talking. All these parents are coming up to me saying, "Oh, that was a great win." Blah blah blah. The coaches are coming up. Great win. Can't believe it. Did you like that? Did you have a good time today? So it was just a really exciting day to be a Warrior. It's always a great day to be a Warrior, but Saturday,
a better day.
Especially, was a great day to be a Warrior.
By the way, real quick, looking it up, it seems like February 1st, 2014 was the last sweep. So it's been
that's
12
years ago.
12 years
that's a
ago.
long time.
Been a while.
Yeah.
So
I was still living in Ohio at that point. So yeah. It's a long time ago.
But one other thing with the men's side, you talk about something special. I think Coach Smothers is starting to really, feel it, because he did the same thing to me as he did Tony Ortiz after the game. So after the game, for those that are unaware, we do a coach. I interview Coach Smothers, or if Tony's there, Coach Lohr. Well, when I went to talk to Coach Smothers, he was excited. He had the whole team around him, and okay, give him his space, let him do his thing. And he starts waving me over, and I'm like, was he taking a team picture, or I'm not sure what he's doing. He goes,
how's my hair looking?
Yeah, we're all doing the interview. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay, so do the interview with the whole team.
He was totally caught off guard, like you were, Brady, even more so.
Oh yeah,
he just kept standing at half court. The team's like, come on over. He's like, what? Come on over.
Well, because you don't want to impose. You're exactly, like, you let them. But then same thing after they win. They ask Tony, come on over. You're good. So I don't know if that's the good luck charm. I don't know if I need to interview the whole team after every win.
I told you when we were talking on the phone yesterday, Brady, I have a feeling that every time we win, hopefully it's these last 4 games at home, every time we win at home plus the tournament, you're going to be interviewing the entire team.
We're just me and Tony will talk to the whole team.
It's going to keep it going.
But it just threw us off because I don't think there's been a lot of sideline reports or sideline interviews with the whole team. So and you could feel the excitement and the joy, and that just makes you smile, and because it gets a little contagious. So anyway, we'll talk about some of the other happenings. I know GLIACs and swimming happened over the weekend, or is technically still happening as we record this. So we will you'll hear my interview with Coach Tines from the softball program. Then we'll preview what's coming up, and we'll clean up everything else with Wayne State Athletics here on Warrior Weekly with Brady Beedon. All right, now we welcome on a special guest, Wayne State softball coach Nicole Tines, getting ready for their season. I know it's about 9 degrees outside, but Saturday you have your first game. So, Coach, first of all, thanks so much for coming on and joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So, all right, I like to start with everyone at the beginning, and it seems like a lot of your colleagues, you came here first as a player. Mm-hmm. Let's go all the way back to then. What drew a young Nicole to Wayne State?
Yeah, I loved the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. Being Canadian too, I think, you have that dream of wanting to play, college athletics and be involved and go to a big university with the rah-rah and that whole feel, because that's not something that historically Canadian universities have had. So just I wanted that experience, and I was really drawn to that here at Wayne State, just the energy and, at the time, the feeling of teams supporting each other and football and going to games with your teammates and meeting new people and then being in the city. I just love the environment. Yeah.
Well, I will say Coach Bryce had a very strong history of getting Canadians to come over and having success, and you're obviously a big part of that.
Yeah. Very honored and blessed to have been given the opportunity to play, and then obviously loved it here, so I've been here ever since.
So, all right, so you're here. At what point in your playing career did you realize, you know what, maybe I want to stick around this, and I want to coach, and I want to stick with this program longer than my 4 years?
I think for me it was the love of teaching and the love of just competing. So for me, I got my undergrad in teaching. And then that kind of just rolled into opportunities. I was given different opportunities to stay on with the team and, jumped at every opportunity I can get because I got the ability to compete and still stay involved with a very successful program and 2 coaches that I absolutely still to this day love and, are my mentors. And, but I got to combine the teaching piece that I got my degree in with coaching. So it was a perfect fit, and I'm, just very lucky.
So when you first come on, you're officially a GA, but basically the role of a GA.
Yep.
So what was that role like in softball? Because, those are the bottom of the barrel on the coaching staff. What was that first experience like?
It was eye-opening. I think, I kind of knew what to expect with playing for Gary and Pat. So I had an idea of what their coaching styles were going to be like. And again, I was used to that. So it kind of transitioned nicely into the coaching piece. It wasn't too out of my element where I didn't know who they were and know what to expect. I knew the expectations. The biggest thing was transitioning from a player, knowing
because they were your friends and, you're joking around with them. And now
different role.
You're not going to, lay the hammer on them, but you have to kind of have a little bit of, yeah, I am a coach now, so
Yep.
there's a different relationship there.
Correct. So it was navigating that role, but I think Gary was absolutely fantastic in giving me so many opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
I was never, you say GA, and we joke
Right.
about that, it was never go get the equipment. It was never,
Yeah.
hey, set this up or set up for practice. He really integrated me and gave me responsibilities to where I was really learning.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to have that administrative experience pretty early, which was fantastic. And, but I was also he gave me a lot of control with the pitching staff.
Right.
And I think that freedom to feel like I was trusted, I was valued, was really important and allowed me to grow some confidence early.
Yeah, because, you go from being a player, now you're coaching, and you have to figure out what your voice is because you know what works for you, but now you're going to have to try to impart that on someone else that maybe has a completely different style.
Yeah, no, that's the challenge of coaching, and that's the challenge of teaching. And I think, I think something that they always used to say to me, Gary and Pat would say, I do see gray, which is nice. And I never really understood that, right away. But now I really understand what it takes to kind of adapt, and not everyone is the same. But that is also a challenge to be able to understand and figure out what makes each athlete tick,
right?
What's going to bring out the best in every individual on your team and the makeup of your team. So as much as you can have the common goal, there are still some people who might handle, pressure and the tough love a little differently than other players, right? So it was navigating that early as well.
So a couple of years of being essentially a student GA assistant, whatever you want to call it, you become the full-time assistant. What was that like? How did you find out? Was that something you knew was coming, or how did that go?
Yeah, I think there was a behind the scenes developing the position, because obviously Pat was also our assistant coach, so navigating that piece, what that looked like, but again, it was very easy. Those two are fantastic.
Right.
So it was a simple transition for me. I just it was maybe a little more responsibility again.
Right.
Gary was great, like I said, about giving me more and more and more, and I'm so grateful for that because that transition was seamless then. I wasn't like an aha moment where, now I got to do this now. I got to plan trips. I got to, so it was an easy adjustment.
Kind of a side question because I've had trouble with this, growing up, everyone's coach. At what point now that you're colleagues, did you feel comfortable calling him Gary instead of just coach?
Yeah. Honestly, early, because that's the relationship he had with his players too. So he never, and even in the recruiting process, he never said, if you said Coach Gary, he'd always be just Gary. Gary.
Okay. So that makes it easier.
It was an easy transition.
Because, you get in the culture, everyone's just coach. Yeah. Everyone's coach. And then, when you're growing up, you start to become an adult and you're still doing that. And you're like, oh, no, they're like, no, you're colleagues now. It's like, but you're coach and you'll always be coach.
I think that's funny too. You say that because, it's even colleagues here, right? So I obviously was a player when a lot of my colleagues now were here. So seeing Coley the player to now Coley the coach, and I'm very similar. And again, I was taught by Gary and Pat. And so I don't stand on that coach piece either. But if a player chooses to call me that, I'm not going to say don't call me
as
that.
As long as it's rooted in respect.
Which it always is.
Absolutely. So Coach Bryce or Gary is coming to the end of his career and, he steps down. You take over. Obviously, that had to have been a great feeling. You're now the head coach, but was it a little intimidating taking over for a legend? Because it's always hard to be the person after the legend.
Absolutely.
So what was that like? Because I'm sure you were ecstatic to now get to lead the program you played for and you've put this time in as an assistant, but you're following up 4 decades of one guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a dream. Honestly, you look back and I think it's every player's dream to coach if that's their passion. So to make it to the head coaching role at a really prestigious, Division II program and with a history of a ton of success, it was an aha moment. This is actually happening. Oh my gosh, I'm here. I did it. I was able to achieve this with a lot of help and support. But yeah, I had my moments of, okay, how are we? Let's go. It's a little bit of just who I am. I think half of me is very competitive and passionate and
Right.
fiery. And the other half is, okay, can I actually do this?
Right.
So yeah, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of mentors in my life,
Mhm.
and specifically Gary and
Mhm.
Pat. And it was like, you can do this. Just like you're a player, you can do this, but you have to believe in yourself. And have I had moments of, can I actually
Yeah.
do this? Absolutely, but I think at the end of the day, it's very similar to what it is, what you're seeing as a player and how you handle that.
You brought up that, you're here with some of your colleagues now, when you played now as coaches. We were joking before we recorded, like once Wayne State gets its claws in you, you're not leaving. But why is that even some of the coaches that have been here 20 plus years that didn't go here, it seems like, a lot of these coaches are 10, 20 years deep. What is it about Wayne State that even throughout the last couple decades, because it's obviously changed a lot.
Yeah.
But people have stayed around. Why is that it seems to have this gravity about it? I joke, but it does. There's a ton of former players and former Wayne Staters that just never leave. I mean, us included.
Yeah. You know what? That's a great question. And I think there are a lot of reasons, but at the end of the day, it's the people.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that. It's the people. It's the culture that Erica has created. And I think that culture from the top down with Erica, with Candace, with our administration and presenting that leadership and modeling that leadership, it's filtered into a culture and environment where coaches are, successful and happy and want to be here. And that trickles to our teams, so I absolutely love the people here. And I just love being downtown. Which
Right.
if you would have asked me that when I did come in as a player, I would have bet a lot of money and said, no, I'm going home.
Right.
Because I'm a big homebody, very close with my family and they're all in the same spot. So, didn't want to be too far away, but it's just been a great fit. And I actually, you wake up every day and you want to be excited about your job and you want to be excited about the impact that you're making. And I truly feel like, every day I come here to work and I love it. It is exciting. And
Right.
you want to make an impact and make an impression on your student athletes, but you get to have fun with coworkers who truly care about you and truly value what you're doing. And I think that's really important.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the other thing is like just it feels like the immense pride people have in this place.
Yes.
You talk to someone that's from Wayne State and you get whether they're a Tartar or a Warrior,
Yeah.
they are very excited when they see that W on there, and especially if they played here. And it doesn't matter the sport.
Yeah. And I'm very honored at the weight of what I'm representing too. Our alumni are outstanding. I see that every year with our Mixer on the Mound event. And, they're just great at showing up to games and supporting. And, I really do try to make an effort because that was part of the process when I was a player on telling our student athletes the road that has been paved before you and the alumni that are so, again, passionate and honored to play at Wayne State, whether they were a Tartar or Warrior and representing that. You're not just representing yourself and the team, you're representing years and years of tradition and just passion before you. So how do you choose to represent that? And just really honored and thankful for our alumni base as well.
So this is year 5 for you now, correct?
Yeah.
Going into it. Where do you think you've grown the most as a coach? Because the other thing we were talking about before we recorded, being an assistant's one thing.
Yeah.
When you get the keys to the car, it's a little different. So where has Nicole grown the most in the last 5 years?
Yeah, I think year 1 and 2 was 2 years of figuring it out. I think I had my mindset. I think I had a plan. But plans change. I think I've seen the most growth in myself between last year and this year.
Okay.
Truly. Just trying to be more centered, more grounded, more confident in myself, and doing some self-reflection last summer, I think, on a lot of things that I've really tried to put into play this year. So, I think I've seen a lot of growth.
Right.
I'm hoping that has come across with my players and my staff because that's important too. But I think both Hannah and I have really grown within the last year or so.
Well, because every year you can see the tangible empirical growth of, hey, we've had more wins year over year. Maybe not quite as much as you would have thought when you took over in year 1, but you still see the improvement. Coming into this year, again, Saturday, you're down in Tennessee to get this started. where are you hoping to take that step forward and really, hit your stride in 2026?
Yeah, I think it comes down to, again, just the team and the culture and what we're really trying to set in place. Because again, we are different. I am different. And I want my players to be thriving in an environment where they're, supported. And I really want to showcase that, right? So I think right now I've seen a lot of shift in our team and where we're at as a team and supporting each other and everyone understanding their roles and teaching that is really important, and having those conversations and being more of a coach that does interact with her players and builds those relationships early. So I think I'm excited to see where my team can progress this year, obviously stats wise and wins and all that stuff, but just I think in adapting from failure, if we do lose a game, how do we react? How do we stop the snowball? We like to say all the time within our program. So whether that's in an inning, like you said before, sometimes innings can feel super long if you're not, the most successful. But I'm excited to just see the growth of the culture continue to grow. So the wins will come along with that. But I think if we have a strong group and a strong core that, that leadership is now, the ripple effect is extending to our underclassmen from our seniors. I think we're just going to continue to see the increase in the W's going forward.
So let's talk a little bit about this team. It's a mix. You have some returning talent from last year that, stepped up and had some nice numbers. You have some newcomers coming in that I'm sure you're hoping is going to step up. What kind of softball are we going to see in Midtown this year?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of versatility, which we've always had because that's my recruiting style. I tend to recruit athletes, girls who can play other, multiple positions, just because you never know. I don't like to have a big roster numbers wise. So again, this group is very similar in the sense that girls can play multiple spots. But we have a lot of dynamics in our lineup. A lot of just, girls who can hit for power, girls who are steady, some slappers now that we historically have not really utilized or had. So that short game and that pressure on the defense that, we might not see. And that's also coming from me to where I need to be able to utilize those, that I haven't really been used to before. So making sure I'm being conscious of decisions, in the third base coaching box and what I'm doing and utilizing my players to the best of their ability. So,
when it comes to roster construction, I always like to ask all the coaches because right now it's changing in college athletics. I mean, just the freedom of movement and everything is wild. How have you noticed that's affected softball? Because even when you took over 5 years ago, I don't think you could have had any idea what was going to be down the road. So you have to kind of evolve in a Wild West type of environment. How is the current era of college athletics affected specifically D2 softball?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's affected D2 softball. There's a lot of changes within the NCAA right now that we're navigating. Players are navigating, coaches are navigating. And I think it's been, again, speaking to the testament of Wayne State University and this athletic department, there's been a lot of transparency of what to expect, what possibly is coming down the pipe. But at the same time, you're able to lean on colleagues and other coaches for how are you navigating this? Or, what does it look for your program maybe than it does for mine or what's different. But yeah, and I think coming with that, again, I have historically been someone who takes things pretty personal, and that's where I've seen that growth and that I need to learn not to take things personal. And as much as that's been told to me forever, same thing when I was a player, it is still, that's who I am. People matter to me, and I care about people, and I care about the program, We talk about pride and being a former student athlete. And, a lot of coaches can say their programs mean, the most to them. But truly, and I say that recruiting, like, this program means so much to me because of what I've been through with this program. So not taking things personal. If it's not the right fit for someone, that's okay. And I don't need to internalize that. So that's been the biggest, I think, challenge for me with all of the happenings in the landscape right now of the NCAA and changes.
Yeah, because, I mean, now you have to worry about, you have a player before, like when you played, you show up, hey, you did great as a freshman, they're going, we've got Nicole
Yeah.
for 3 more years.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Now it can be, well, maybe someone's going to come calling, but on the other hand, you can go out and find someone. And it just, each sport, it feels a little different. And it seems the one thing I've noticed is the consistency year to year is tougher, but that's where I think you can lean back on culture. And if everyone enjoys being here and enjoys each other, I just think naturally you'll lose a little less. So hopefully that's where it can help you out.
Yeah, and softball specifically is truly a game of failure. Like baseball, right?
Yeah.
We try to preach to our kids who are all extremely successful, very smart students, that you're going to fail.
Right.
And you have to be able to be okay with, well, I shouldn't say that, not okay with failing, but it's going to happen.
It's a part of the process.
It's a part of the process. So how do you handle the failure, right? Which is really where the learning curve is. And when you're used to having, again, because of recruiting, we look for student athletes who, yes, are successful on the field and great personalities, but also GPAs and strong students, right? So
with softball always near the top.
Correct. And we're very proud of our girls, but now it's getting them to shift that understanding that you're not always going to get the A plus, right, on the field. So, I mean, you look at a all conference player batting 300, they're failing 7 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
Right.
And for someone that's used to getting 95 on everything, that can be a bit of a culture.
It's very hard. So,
and I'm sure a lot of them also in high school or travel, they're hitting 500-600 in those levels. So even from that aspect, it's everyone's really good now.
Right. And our conference is extremely strong when it comes to softball. I mean, you look at the last few years, the teams that are making it to the Final 8 from our region, our GLIAC representation. So, we have a very, very strong, conference, and our kids know what to expect, but it's also just getting them to understand, like, everyone's got to put their cleats on and go play. Because, you don't just always show up and dominate, so you get a bounce, team makes an error, whatever, game can turn. So it's keeping them focused, keeping them, but they're long games.
Yes.
Doubleheaders are long games.
Yes, they are long days and a lot of season in a short time frame too.
Yes.
So I know you'll have your Southern season to start. We are hopeful that March 3rd, the first home game against the doubleheader against Oakland. Hopeful.
Yeah.
The winter has not been kind.
We'll see.
We're hoping. But that was hopefully the first home game. But a lot of Southern games first. Good luck on all that trips. And hopefully when you come up and it's warmer, you're rocking and rolling into GLIAC play.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we kick it off this weekend. Again, with tough competition and tough opponents, and rolling into Chicago, which is always a great tournament for us because it's, I say guaranteed games. The one year we did have a windstorm and we weren't able to play. We
did just have indoor tennis get canceled last week
too.
True.
So, but we're in the Midwest. I think that makes us tougher, and we're able to adapt. And
as great as Duchesne is, you can't quite get the fly balls in
We're
there.
ready to get out. Yeah.
All right. Well, Coach, thank you so much. Good luck this weekend, and I look forward to seeing you at the Diamond in the spring.
Thank you so much for having me, and go Warriors.
All right. Still a lot to wrap up with on the other sports. I know basketball took up a lot, but swimming is in the GLIACs, and actually, as of recording, they haven't finished up, so we don't know all the results. This is what we do know. We do have a few GLIAC champions on the men's side. Khalil bin Ajmiya won the 500 free. In fact, he beat out his teammate, Kadem Argali, was the one that finished just a couple seconds behind him. I know Khalil was a national champion last year, had a surgery this offseason, back GLIAC champion again this year. So obviously bounced back all right. Always like to rack up the GLIAC title. Another GLIAC champion in 3-meter diving, Max Wozniak, won that one. He took first. And some other finishes. Second in the 100-meter back, Olin Charnstrom finished second in that on the men's side. And on the women, had a couple that placed in the top 3. Delaney Parker in the 100-meter breaststroke finished third, and Ellie Belmore finished third in the 200 fly. So a lot of GLIAC championships going on. Men look like they might finish second. The women look like they might finish third in the GLIAC. So a couple of strong finishes. Not bringing home the title, but still a strong effort from both sides.
Absolutely, and you love to see the individual champions out there as well. And another solid season for head coach Sean Peters, one of our favorite guys around campus. He continues to churn out GLIAC champion after GLIAC champion year after year.
Yes, and then tennis was in action. They didn't have a roof cave in. Duchesne roof is solid. Yeah. The men won 6-1. The women swept Walsh 7-0. So a strong day on the courts.
And the women got their GLIAC championship rings on Saturday at halftime of the men's game as well. So congratulations to them from last year, trying to repeat as GLIAC champions.
And you got to talk to Coach.
I did, last Thursday. Yeah, Coach Yasha. So. Yeah, it was always nice to talk to her, and she even put her analyst hat on to talk about the basketball team as well. So it was great to have Yasha on.
All right, so I believe that catches up. There's one other point I wanted to mention when it came to basketball. We didn't because we were talking about the game, but we need to give a shout out to the Wayne State Pep Band because they have been there game in and game out. And I will tell you, in the Davenport game, it wasn't as big of a crowd as the Grand Valley game. I'm sitting on the sideline. I can hear them getting after Davenport, and you know what? They are trying to bring the noise and bring a home court advantage, and I don't want it to go unnoticed. So I know I noticed it, and you did as well from the booth.
Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm a former band guy. I was in the college band at Bowling Green State University, so I can appreciate a good pep band or a good marching band. And yes, the pep band was a big factor. They were making a lot of noise, harassing the opposing team when they're shooting free throws late in the game is always big. And they're kind of taking a page out of Michigan Tech's book because Michigan Tech's pep band is always a menace every time we play up in Houghton, and it gives Michigan Tech a nice home court advantage up there. And now our pep band's doing the same thing, and hopefully that carries over. I suspect it will. I have no reason why it wouldn't, but to have them come out in full force these last 4 games of the regular season.
Yeah, and I do hope that if the student body grows and brings more, they feed off that energy because I saw that and I'm like, we need to make a point to say they've done a great job this year trying to give a little bit of a home court advantage.
Yeah, and it wasn't just the band, especially Saturday, it was the entire crowd as well. I for the first time in a while, I actually thought Wayne State had a nice home court advantage on Saturday against Grand Valley. There was a ton of Grand Valley fans there, too, as you would suspect. A lot of Detroit area kids and not too far away from the west side of the state either. But give Wayne State's pep band, like you said, big shout out. Big shout out to the fans. And a lot of students showed up on Saturday as well. It was a great day. Like I said last segment, great day to be a Warrior. But we like to see that home court advantage continue the rest of the season and in to hopefully the GLIAC tournament with 2 home games as well.
So, speaking of big games coming up. Hey, great wins on Saturday over Grand Valley. Not a lot of rest. You can't rest on your laurels because you are now in a dogfight coming down the stretch. The women in third, a half game out of second as of recording, with Northern Michigan Ferris at 11-2. These are big games coming up against Northern and Tech. One's right above you. Technically, Tech is below you, but there's a gap between the 4th and 5th. And for the men, you're now in 4th place, and you have a lot of schools chasing you, but you've got a little bit of separation. You're 8-6. If Ferris wins their game on Monday as of recording, that hasn't happened yet, but if they get to 7-7, you're a game ahead of them with the tiebreaker.
It's early too, yeah.
If you can find a way to split this weekend on the men's side, I think you can get a home GLIAC game.
Yes, obviously you want to win both. The way the men are playing right now, I wouldn't put it past them to win both games, although Northern Michigan still remains, in my opinion, even though they lost at home to Lake State Saturday, maybe the best overall team in the conference. But you can at least win one. Yes, you set yourself up, and then you take at least one, hopefully 2 on the road, and then you sweep both games at home to end the year. You're going to be in 4th place with your tiebreakers that you built in kind of as an advantage, because that 1-game lead, Brady, is basically a 2-game lead over Ferris State because of the tiebreaker. On the women's side, you beat the number 1 team in the country, great. Well, now you get another top 10 team as far as the power rankings go coming in. And Brady, power ranking, the Massey rankings are kind of the power rankings for college basketball. A lot of computers involved with that, but that's what they use to kind of select NCAA tournament teams. The GLIAC has 4 of the top 13 teams in the country in the conference. Grand Valley's 2. Northern Michigan, I believe, was 6 this week. Ferris State 7. Wayne State 13. Another top 10 team. Wayne State now has the top strength of schedule in the entire country after beating Grand Valley on Saturday. That's only going to go up with playing Northern Michigan.
Right.
On Thursday, they got blitzed at Northern a couple weeks ago, but that was the game where the Wildcats couldn't miss a three. They shot 64% from downtown. I don't expect they will do that again here at home. And we've seen Wayne State take care of business against Ferris State and Grand Valley, two top teams in the league at home. Now they get Northern Michigan at home. Wayne State, Brady, and this is weird to say, Wayne State now becomes big Grand Valley fans the rest of the year. Why do you say? Because they're not going to lose more than 2 games the rest of the year talking about Grand Valley.
If they did, that'd be really cool.
If they did, it'd be great, but you're not going to catch them for first place. So what do you want Grand Valley to do? You want them to keep beating teams they play. You want them to beat Ferris State. You want them to beat Michigan Tech when they play again. And if they do that, then Wayne State will have a tiebreaker over every team that they're tied with at the top if they can beat Northern Michigan this Thursday, because they will have split with Ferris and Northern, but they will have the tiebreaker because they were the one team to beat the number 1 team in Grand Valley. So if Wayne State can win this game on Thursday and they don't kind of slip up to a team they shouldn't lose to the rest of the way, they're going to be the 2 seed for the GLIAC tournament. They're going to get maybe a Davenport or Saginaw Valley in the first round as opposed to a Michigan Tech or Parkside, which is big. Plus, not just the number 2 seed for the GLIAC tournament, maybe a 2 or 3 seed for the NCAA tournament as well. Over at Grand Valley, we assume. So you would avoid having to play the Lakers until the championship game of both the conference tournament and the regional tournament. Although we've seen Wayne State has been able to beat Grand Valley this year, but you want to avoid the home team for as long as possible. So this is such a big game Thursday. I would say after the win on Saturday, it becomes even a bigger game than what we saw Saturday because of what's on the line heading into March.
Yeah, and earlier in the year, I talked about the business approach of beating the teams you should beat and how that needs to be, the step up for the program and where they're at. And they passed that with flying colors. They haven't played with their food. They've beat the teams they should. The next step after that is you just had the biggest win in however long you want to say for this program. Regular season, it's been a long time.
They've never beaten the number 1 team in the country before, so I don't know how it's got to be the biggest win ever at Wayne State for their women's team in the regular season.
Now you're going up against a team that you could argue is almost as good as that Grand Valley team. A team that, like you mentioned, blitzed you up in Marquette. How do you respond? Because I know, euphoric win. You got to get back and focus on this. And if you can bounce back and get these 2 wins back to back, all right, then there's no limit for this women's team, because that would be and they're an old, mature team. I like that about them, and that's going to show if they can handle this Northern Michigan team on a Thursday.
It is going to be tough. That's the one thing that concerns me about Thursday is how do you come off that high? Now, luckily, it's not just 36 hours later. Saturday, you've got a whole 5 days off before you play again.
You could maybe even enjoy it Sunday.
You enjoy it Sunday, yeah. We get back to work today. We're taping on Monday. Get back to work today. Get ready for Thursday. But the one thing I'll say, Brady, that I think works in Wayne State's favor, it's not that they lost like a game at the buzzer to Northern Michigan, lost by 1 point. They beat you pretty good. Yeah. So you got a chip on your shoulder to say, hey, they kicked our butts the first time up there. Let's get them back here. So I think that provides some extra motivation to try to come off that loss a little bit easier, that you're saying, hey, this team beat us by quite a bit up at Marquette. Let's beat them here at home and put ourselves back in second place in the league and go from there. But I think that's going to help. And on the men's side, Brady, Northern really dominated Wayne State from start to finish. So going to have to make some adjustments. And Northern, again, coming off a loss. They're not going to be happy losing at home to Lake State, one of their rivals up in the UP as well. So I expect a good game. And
Tech was a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
Tell me if this is a fair analogy. It feels like these last 3 games, Wayne State has passed the audition. This is the callback.
Yeah.
Hey, you've proven you've taken a step forward. Now you've got 2 games against 2 top 10 teams in your place. All right. You want to say you're a legit one of the top teams in the league? You have a golden opportunity to prove it with both Northern and Tech coming down.
Yeah, and even though Wayne State was down 20 at halftime to Tech up there in Houghton, they came back, took the lead a couple times late, maybe should have won that game the first time. Yeah, you got blitzed at Northern just like the women did, but, make some adjustments. I think we're playing a lot better basketball and have changed some things. I'm not going to say what, but have tinkered with some things and changed some things since that road trip up to the UP. But yeah, hey, you beat one of the tri-leaders in the conference in Grand Valley on Saturday. Now you have the next 2 coming here in Northern Michigan and Michigan Tech. And again, if you can split, I know I hate that analogy. coaches hate that saying, we just want to split, but they want to win every game, obviously, and they take things game by game. But big picture, you can split win one of the two. You're in great shape.
Again, we're not playing. We can say that.
Yeah, we can say that. We're not playing or coaching. We're just calling the game. But, Northern's just so tough. Talk about a veteran team. They got so many veterans on that team. They've got kids that can shoot it all over the court. I think the tougher of the two games is definitely Northern Michigan. But, again, same thing with the women, though. How does Wayne State come off that high of beating their rival and beating a top 14 team in the country on Saturday? Can they respond as well and keep it going? They can't fall behind by 15 points or 20 points again and expect to come back. They've got to hang in there in the first half and then get to the second half where they've been the better team these last 3 times out. I can't wait to watch. It's going to be fascinating. Both teams are well coached. Talking about Michigan Tech and Northern Michigan, we're well coached as well, so it's going to be an interesting chess match between the coaches to adjust after what happened the first time. But that's what makes this time of year so exciting, Brady, when you get to February and then in the March, you're playing teams for the second time, maybe even third time, possibly even fourth time if you get to the national tournament. So it's just that chess match between the coaches to make adjustments and which team can execute better. And this is my favorite time of year. I mean, it's my favorite time of year. I'm a basketball guy. Favorite time of year. Mid-February into March is where champions are made, and Wayne State has 2 really good opportunities to make runs.
20 games in, and we're still trying to figure out exactly what this men's team is. And I think it can be something really special, but this is their center stage. Yep. Other happenings this week in Wayne State, men's tennis is down at Toledo. They're going down there on Friday. The women's track and field, they're going to Grand Valley on Friday. And then baseball and softball are playing. I know you heard me talk to Coach Tines, but baseball and softball are playing. Baseball starts in Florence, Kentucky, so basically Cincinnati.
Right over the border, yeah.
Yep, against Tiffin. They'll play that on Friday, hopefully. Bring
your long underwear.
Men's tennis will then host Findlay on Saturday, a big day Saturday to go alongside the basketball games. Men's and women's tennis hosts Findlay, women first, then the men will be at 5. Baseball will play Tiffin, hopefully games 2 and 3, hopefully, down there. Softball down in Harrogate, Tennessee. I've never been to Harrogate. I don't know where Harrogate is.
I want to say it's the Nashville area, but I'm not entirely
Coach,
sure. I'm not up on my Tennessee
said
geography.
It was about a 7
I know the Knoxville area pretty well. 7, so it's probably Knoxville area.
All right, that's not terrible. Against Lincoln Memorial and Bluefield State, and then the women's track and field will finish up their big meet. And then actually on Sunday, baseball and softball will continue. Both baseball and softball scheduled to play Tiffin. Softball scheduled to play Lincoln Memorial again. So hopefully we have baseball and softball to talk about as well.
Yeah, baseball is my favorite sport, so I can't wait for baseball season. It just seems when I'm walking in to do the podcast today and it's still 12 degrees outside and there's snow around, you're thinking about baseball, but I guess we have to start thinking about baseball.
It's like when it's October and it's early October and it's still like 60 degrees outside and there's hockey going on. It's like it doesn't feel like it yet.
It doesn't feel like it yet, but hey.
It happens.
I can't wait because we'll be calling a lot of those games on the Warrior Sports Network and Flow Sports for the prep as well. And it just once the first of the year starts, Brady, you know this better than anybody, but once the first of the year starts, basketball kicks into high gear. Then a month later, you got baseball, softball going, swimming and diving, tennis. I mean, just everything going on. And these guys working here at Wayne State can't even have time to sleep. It's a really busy time of year.
We'll keep Jeff and Henry and Cooper all working hard, and everyone else in the sports information department. Give Zach a lot of content for social media. So get to juggle all that, and we'll get to talk about all that. So fun show. Always is. I mean, especially.
I don't know how you get more fun than knocking off the number 1 team in the country and the number 4 team in the country on the same afternoon. And not only that, it wasn't like the number 1 team in the country is some team from Texas or something. No. This is our arch rival.
Yeah, it was Grand Valley.
Just punked Grand Valley twice in our gym on Saturday afternoon. You can't beat it.
Well, on that note, not much more to say. We'll talk to you next week on Warrior Weekly with Brady Beedon.